welcome to our second video in this thrilling series of how to use the Tracker software on your computer to do video analysis in physics. Now, the previous video wasn't really about Tracker as such, it was about the sort of things you need to consider when you're capturing video for some sort of physics experiment. So things like having the correct resolution, having a decent frame rate, getting the lighting right, getting the angles right, all that kind of important stuff. This video is going to move on from there. We're going to assume that you've shot a fantastic physics video, and now you actually want to start analyzing that physics video. So you want to track an object like a ball or a pendulum or something like that. You want to track it frame by frame and then use the software to calculate things like position, velocity, acceleration, all of that good stuff. So starting from that point, we're going to open up Tracker. When it fires up, you're going to see just something like this, blank screen. That's because we haven't added the video yet. To add a video, go up to the top, go File, Open File, and I'm going to use one that I borrowed from another program, which is pretty simple. It's just a guy in a nice pair of tight white shorts throwing a basketball. Okay, so down the bottom here, this is like your play control for the video. You've got a little green arrow to play it, like so. You can see it's a slow motion video of this guy chucking a basketball. And then as well as that, over the right hand side here, you have two little backwards and forwards arrows. And what that allows us to do is either go backwards frame by frame or forwards frame by frame. So that's how we control the video playback. For the time being, I'm going to take this right back to the start. And before I do anything else, I'm going to have to let the computer know what the scale is for this particular video. So you remember in the first video we said that whatever you do, when you're shooting your video, somewhere in the video frame you need to have an object of known length that you can use to set your scale. So in this particular case here, you might be able to see down the bottom on the ground, there is a green stick thing with 3 evenly spaced blue objects. I'm not sure exactly what that is because it's not my video, but I do know that particular green stick is 2 meters long, so that's how we're going to set our scale. So to set the scale, we're going to use something called the calibration stick. To get the calibration stick, you go up to the top, choose this guy, choose New, and then choose calibration stick. And you can see now I have a blue stick on the screen, and I can move that blue stick, line it up with this, and then I can click on the arrows at either end and drag them backwards and forwards to alter the length of that stick. Now, that looks okay like that, but sometimes okay is not good enough. If we want to have a really good results with minimal amount of errors, I actually need to zoom in on that and do a slightly better job than just roughly having it lined up with that stick. So to zoom in on this, you've got 2 options. Up the top here, you've got your magnifying glass. And if you press on that, you have a number of different possible zooms. That's a bit fiddly though, because if you're zooming in and out all the time, which you can be, it's going to be very frustrating. The easy way of doing it is to use a wide mouse and to use the scroll wheel in the middle to just zoom in and out like so. So my recommendation would be, if you're doing this on a laptop, go find yourself a wide mouse and use that while you're working with Tracker. It'll make your life so much easier. Alright, so I'm going to zoom in. And whenever I want to move the video frame, I just left click and drag like so. So there's my bar. Might adjust it slightly. There we go. That looks about right. Now you might be able to see here where my cursor is, there's a little 100 written there. That's the current length. Currently that's set to be 100 meters long. Not quite. So I'm going to click in there, going to delete the 100 and put in 2 for 2 meters. Boom. So that's my scale set. Zoom back out. Next step is to find my starting frame, where I want to go from. Now what I'm interested in here is the free fall motion of the basketball, which means the basketball just falling through the air and being pulled downwards by gravity. So I don't want this guy to actually be pushing on it in any part of my video. So you can see at the start he's pushing the basketball with his hands. I want to choose the point where he's just let go of it and now it's in free fall motion. No forces other than gravity acting on it. So that's going to be my starting frame there. What I'll do as well is I will set the coordinates on this, because all the calculations are done based on the position of various objects around an X and Y axis. I'm going to set my axes to be at that basketball. So the X and Y axes will start at that basketball at that particular frame. So to get a coordinate axis, I go up to here, click on that, and then when I get this guy, click in the middle of the axes on the origin and drag it so it's pretty much at the center of that basketball, like so. Cool. Once I've done that, I'm good to go. Now I'm ready to start marking the position of the basketball for various frames in the video. Now to do that, one more thing I got to do, go up to Create and choose Point Mass. So a point mass, if you don't know, is kind of like an object where all of the weight is concentrated in a very small area. Now a basketball is a little bit like that. Shot put would be, tennis ball would be, pretty much anything that's sort of symmetrical and round we can call a point mass. So this will work quite nicely for this. Objects that aren't nice, symmetrical and round, like a Coke bottle thrown through the air, won't be a point mass, and therefore that probably wouldn't be appropriate for doing video analysis, whereas this guy will work just fine. So now you'll see I've got a mass A up in the corner there, and I'm good to go. So now I can start marking the position of this basketball at each individual frame. Now, the way I do that, every time I want to mark a frame, I hold down the Shift key, and you might be able to see as I press the Shift key, the cursor changes to little crosshairs. I stick the little crosshair at the center of the basketball, click it, and as I do that, it advances the video forward by one frame. And I just do the same thing again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Keep going. If I want to see the points I've marked already, let go of the Shift key and they appear, and then hold back down on the Shift key again when you want to mark the next position. So far so good, but what happens if I mark the wrong spot like that? So you can see that I've marked that 13th one there, I've put that in the wrong position. If the computer doesn't know that, it's automatically gone on to the next frame. Well, it's pretty easy to fix. I need to go back to that frame I just stuffed up, so I press the backwards arrow once. And hang on, there we go. That's the one where we want to be. See how that's a round circle? So that's showing me I'm currently on that frame. Now that little dot there should be there in the center of the basketball instead. So I'm going to left click on that and just drag it back into place like that. And then go forward by a frame again to get back to where I was. And then I keep going. Okay, it's pretty tedious. But, you know, if you want to get good results, you kind of got to do this. In a later video, I'll look at how to use what's called Auto Tracker, which is basically a way of getting the computer to just mark this for you automatically, rather than having to go through it frame by frame. It works very well with some videos, but not everything. So sometimes you'll have to do it manually like this. Okay, so I'm pretty much at the end here. I'm going to mark this last frame, and then I'll stop because you can see the balls hit the ground. After that, the ball then hits the ground and bounces back up, but I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in that first part. So I am done. I can zoom back out. And if I now was to go back and drag that bar backwards and forwards, you can see there are all my little frames I marked. Like so. Now what the program has done, you might be able to see there's a table in the graph over here. The program has calculated the position, X and Y, of that basketball for each frame. So each frame has a time. So the first frame is 0.179 seconds, and you can see it's pretty much at the origin at that point, 0 and 0 there. And then each subsequent frame takes you forward by a little bit in time. And then next to that, you'll have the X and the Y position. So it's automatically mapped out the coordinates of the ball at each frame in that video. And then up here, it's taken those coordinates and it's used it to plot a graph. And next video is going to look at how to actually do stuff with that graph. But for the time being, I think that's enough for one video. So one last final step, always good practice. Save tab as, and you're going to save it as a tracker file, TRK. Save that, and then we're done. All right, catch you later.